Hi, I'm Nick Gromicko. We're in Titusville, Florida, and Greg Bell of Bell Inspection Service is going to show us how to inspect the townhouse. Where do we start, on the outside first?
Yes, Nick, we'll start with the roof and then go around the exterior.
All right, I'll follow you.
Okay.
So what are we looking at here?
We have a plastic bubble type skylight. Those are the most problematic skylights made by the industry. So when we go on the inside, it'll be important to look around there and see if there's any evidence of leaks. The next item I noticed is the wood siding here. You don't have the proper clearance between the siding and the shingles. So that leads to wood rot or wood decay on the siding. And you can see evidence of it deteriorating. Everything looks fine with the shingles up here. It appears that we have one nail pop. That's an easy repair. One recommendation I would make is just a general improvement. It's not something that's wrong. As you look down this row of houses here, you can see the drip edge where all of the runoff comes from up above. I would suggest that they put gutters on this second level, and that will extend the life of the shingles down below.
All right, let's go around back.
This is the air condenser unit. This house has a split system. The heat is inside and the condenser is outside. The compressor for the AC is inside the condenser unit. Now the first thing we look at on an air condenser is the data plate. Unfortunately on this one, all of the information is gone. So
It's pretty old now, huh?
It looks really old, yeah. Now I know from looking at the tax records that this house was built in 1985. I would say that this is probably an original unit. That makes it over 20 years old. For the new owner, I'm going to recommend that they upgrade this, even if it functions as intended, simply because the new units are more efficient and cheaper to run than what this unit would be. Another item I'm noticing here, and this is a poor design on the construction, the dryer vent comes out right onto the air condenser. If you look back here, you can see all the dryer vent that's all over the unit. That reduces the efficiency of the unit. Oh, now shut off. We can talk. Generally, if you lose the first 1 inch of your coil space to it being clogged, you've reduced the efficiency of the unit by 20%.
Wow.
And we all know that this is a costly item to run in Florida. So we spend a lot of money keeping our homes cool every year.
Right. It's only about 9 a.m. here, and
we're sweating already.
So, Greg, what is this pipe coming up out of the ground? Is this the main water line?
Yes, Nick. That's the main water line that supplies the whole house.
I notice it doesn't have a shutoff valve.
Well, it does have a shutoff valve. This is here. It's just the valve doesn't have a handle on it.
I see.
Which is important because if you have a water leak in the house and you come out here to shut this off, you can't shut it off without a pair of pliers. So all the time you spend looking for a pair of pliers, that's more water leaking inside your house. And that's an easy fix of just a couple of dollars. The next thing we do on the outside is look at the condition of the exterior walls. In Florida, it's very important to keep the water out of your house. So it's important to have a good paint job on your house. And I always rub the paint. You can see there's no chalk on my hand. That means that the paint is still in good condition and will repel water. The other thing we have to be concerned about in Florida is termites. because termites eat up wood very fast. And this is a wood frame home. So that's why you see this stucco has been cut so that you reveal you have a space between the ground and the bottom of the wall. That way, if termites do get in the structure, they have to build a tube. And that's how we look and determine if a house has termites or not. So as you can see all the way around, we don't see any tubes anywhere. But when you go on the side of the house here, you can see how all the weeds and everything is growing up along the side of the house. So that really blocks your ability to be able to visually look and see if there are any termites. So it's very important to keep around the perimeter of your house cleaned so that you can view that. And it's important to go around probably every 3 months and just look for a termite tube. I'm going to get my bag out of the truck and then we'll go inside the house and start on the inside.
All right, good.
Nick, the first thing I do when I get to a house to do the inspection is go into the inside and check out the dishwasher. So I want to start that running before we start the inspection. That way it's completed its cycle by the time we're done with the inspection, and that way I've done a full inspection of the dishwasher. I want to check out the drain line and make sure it's connected because I don't want to flood the house when I start up the dishwasher. So I just look under the sink and see that the drain line is properly connected, and then we can start up the dishwasher and move on with our inspection. Okay. All right, Nick, you ready to get started on the rest of the house?
Let's go.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to thank you for my InterNACHI flashlight. These are the best flashlights I ever have. Usually when I'm starting inside the house, I'll start at a specific point and always work my way to the right. Each home inspector has their different way of doing things. That's what I do, and that way I make sure I catch everything in the house.
So kind of clockwise?
Right, I'm always going to the right around the house. That way I don't miss anything. The first item we come upon is the electrical panel. And the electrical panel is one of the most important things we do at a home inspection because of the safety concern. First thing we do with an electrical panel is take our voltage ticker and just check to make sure that there's no current going through the panel.
What are you doing there, Greg?
I'm checking to see if there's any current on the dead front of the panel, okay? Because I don't want to pull a panel off if there's live current in it.
And why are you using the back of your hand?
I'm using the back of my hand because if we put our palm on it, it's very likely if there was a circuit going through there, I couldn't break away and pull away from that. So I would end up getting electrocuted. But if I use the back of my hand, the natural reaction is for your arm to pull away like this. So that way that breaks the contact.
And you're using your right arm because?
Well, it's the furthest one away from my heart. So if there is a little electricity going through there, I'd rather have it go through the rest of my body first.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and remove the dead front and look inside the panel. Now, one thing you want to look at before you're taking the dead front off is what type of screws that are in the dead front. If you have a pointed screw, I'd recommend that you don't take the dead front off.
So why do they use blunt screws?
Because that pointed screw could penetrate one of these conductors on the side, and then you would energize the dead front. So that's why they have blunt screws, where it will just push the wire away. We're looking for the size of conductor with each breaker. We're looking to make sure that there are no double taps, and that's where they run 2 circuits off of 1 breaker. And also that the neutrals are isolated and the grounds are isolated. Now, everything that I see inside this panel looks good. Now, for example, here you have a 20 amp breaker with a 12 gauge wire, and that's the appropriate size. So this panel looks good, and we'll put the dead front back on and carry on. In here we have the air handler. This is the second part of the split AC system. And in this unit provides the heat in the house and also circulates the air. First we look at the data plate. And from reading it, this tells me that this unit was manufactured in 1985. So that means that these are the original equipment like we thought when we were looking at the condenser outside. You want to have proper clearances on each side, and you want to make sure that the refrigerant line is insulated. You want to feel around the ductwork for any leaking air. And the most important part of this unit is the coils. And you want to make sure that the coils are clean and unrestricted. Restricted coils mean that the unit has to work harder, which in turn uses more power. The only way to do that is to get down underneath the unit and look up to see where your coils. Now we can tell from this one it's very dirty. So here again, with the condition, the age of this unit, we're going to recommend that they upgrade the whole AC system. So that's looking at about $3,000 in this market. Another item we use as home inspectors to test the AC is to check the temperature differential between the return air and the output air. It usually should be between 15 and 21 degrees, and that if it is, that indicates to us that the system's working properly. So I take my thermostat and check the temperature on the return air, which is 76 degrees. And then I'll go to the closest outlet to the unit and check the temperature on that. And it is 62. So that gives us a 14-degree drop, which I thought it would be a little on the low side here simply because how dirty the unit is.
How many pictures do you put in your report?
Well, it varies with each house depending on how many defects there are. I always put a picture of the air condenser, the air handler, the water heater up in the attic, and I do those items just so that the client knows I did inspect them. And then I also include any defects. But a typical report usually has about 10 or 15 photos in it. Next we have the bathroom, and here we're going to look at the condition of the tub, make sure that water flows. When I'm doing an inspection, I like to let the water flow for a little while, and that way I know that the drains aren't clogged up. Because if the drains are clogged up, it'll back up into the bathtub. So I'll just let that run for 5 or 10 minutes before we go on. Because a lot of times in older houses that were built, the main drain line they made out of a tar asphalt type of pipe. And my experience has been that that pipe just collapses with no notice. So I don't want you to move in here and a couple weeks later not be aware of that. I'm going to check the water closet to make sure that it's properly secured to the floor and there's no movement to it, and flush it to make sure that everything drains properly. And for those people that don't know, a water closet is the technical term for a toilet.
So what are we looking at here?
If there's any water stains or damaged wood, then that indicates that there's been a leak in the past. And all of us in Florida know that when you have water leaks, mold can become a problem. Nick, now we're going into the kitchen and we'll check out the appliances that are with the kitchen. Just about all houses have a refrigerator. And for the refrigerator, there's not a lot we can do to check it as a home inspector. What we usually do is take our infrared thermometer and just check the temperature in the freezer and check the temperature in the refrigerator and make sure that they are at their appropriate ranges.
Greg, there can't be much wrong with a kitchen cabinet, can there?
You wouldn't think so, would you?
It's empty.
Yeah, but these cabinets hold a lot of weight. So the thing that a home inspector looks for is how they're installed. And now I can tell with this one they use drywall screws to install it, which is a no-no. Drywall screws with a lot of weight, the head will pop off. So then it loses its ability to hold all that weight, and of course it'll come crashing down.
And how do you know it's a drywall screw?
I can tell because it's black and it has a Phillips head. Most cabinet screws are silver and have a hex head.
I see. Greg, what do you have there?
This is a shirt test, and it checks the outlets. It tells us if the outlet's wired correctly, what the voltage being drawn on the outlet is, and what the voltage drop is.
So it's not just a little GFCI tester.
Right, the little 3 light that you're talking about?
Right.
No. This also tests the GFCI and the AFCI.
What's a meter like that cost you?
You're running about $250. Now, when we first plug it in, it comes up with 3 lights, and that means that everything's wired correctly. And you push the button to scale down, and it tells us that it's pulling 121 volts, which is an acceptable range. And the voltage drop is 4.6%. Anything over 5% is considered problematic.
And you couldn't do that with a little GFCI tester?
No, all I can do is see how this outlet's wired. All houses should have a GFCI outlet in the kitchen, anywhere where you're near water. And that's a safety protection, so that if something dropped into the water, it would shut the circuit down. This particular house doesn't have GFCIs, and that's because they weren't required when this house was built. So that would be something that would be a discretionary recommended improvement, just like the gutters on the front of the house.
Right.
The first thing I see when we get into the living room here is the drywall flaws. You can see where the tape's blistering on the drop angle and along the top angle. And also you can see where the ceiling texture has been damaged by the skylight. That tells me that this house has had water leaks at some point in time. And how old they are, I don't know. I would check with the current owner and see if they had the skylights replaced or reflashed so that they repaired the problem. Now, one thing I always bring along for my clients to make me look good is a digital measuring device. That way I can hand this to my clients and have them go measure all the rooms. And what we're checking on the stairs is the distance between these ballasts. You don't want a child that could be able to fall through there or get their head in there, because that could be dangerous to them.
And what should this distance be?
It should be 4 inches or less.
It looks like they've already tried to make a couple of repairs by adding these.
Right. When the contractor first built it, he had over 6 inches between each ballast. So with this addition here, we're still at 5. So it still needs to be modified so that a child can't fit through there. The second thing we look at on stairs is the height of the riser. These are 7 inches, and that's good. What I'm doing is checking the handrail, Nick, to make sure that it's nice and secure. So I just like to give it a nice little tug, and looky there, it comes right apart.
Not much holding it together. A couple finishing nails.
Couple finishing nails. For this, they should have drilled in, put in a screw, and then just covered it with a plug. Next, Nick, I'm looking at the windows here, and I can tell that these are a single pane contractor grade window. They're not the most energy efficient that's available. On a unit like this, there's not that many windows. It would be worthwhile to go ahead and put a double pane insulated glass in. Because probably in a year of running your air conditioner, you would save the cost of the windows. Now I notice here that the vent register isn't secured to the roof, to the ceiling. Now what this is going to allow, where this hangs down here, air can flow, conditioned air can flow back up into the attic. So here you're trying to cool the attic as well as the house, which means more costly electric bills. While we're here talking about energy efficiency, Nick, another thing I recommend to my clients is that they call the local power provider and have them do an energy audit. It's very expensive, usually $30, $40, and they come into the house and inspect it and tell you what improvements you can make to the house to make it more energy efficient. And the best part about that is they give you rebates for all the improvements that they recommend.
Greg noticed something about the tile.
Yes, Nick, you can see where the tile on the bathtub has come off. And also where the vinyl on the floor, all the adhesive has come loose and it's starting to peel up. That indicates to me that we've had more water moist damage here, and I would recommend further evaluation for mold. Nick, now we're in the utility room, and the first thing we come upon is the water heater. Now with the water heater, I'm checking the electrical connection to make sure that it's secure and safe, and I'm also checking the supply line. And you always want to make sure that the supply line has a shutoff valve on it. That way, if there's ever a leak with a water heater, you can shut it off quickly and reduce the amount of damage. Also with a water heater is called a TPR valve, a temperature pressure release valve. That keeps your hot water heater from becoming a bomb if there's ever a problem. If you've ever seen one explode, it's amazing that they can do so much damage for such a little appliance. And I noticed with this one right here, they have a PVC drain line connected. That's not right simply because that material is not rated for the temperature that water will be coming out if that valve is ever activated. Over here I can see where an electrical conductor is exposed on the wall. That tells me that a homeowner or a handyman, someone that wasn't a licensed electrician, made this improvement. And it looks like it's running to that ceiling fan there on the porch. All of this conductor should have been run inside the wall so that it's not exposed to possible damage.
We're out on the back porch now.
Yes, Nick, and you can see the screen enclosure here. The base of it's made out of wood, and we have some wood decay here. So probably over the years, moisture has gotten inside of that because it wasn't properly sealed, and now it's starting to decay. That would cause the house to fail its WDO inspection.
And a WDO is what?
A WDO stands for wood destroying organism, and wood decay is considered a wood destroying organism by the Department of Agriculture. So that would have to be replaced to get a clean termite report.
We're in the living room right now. Would you put in your home inspection report these carpet stains?
Yes, Nick, I would. I would point them out to the client simply because it's going to be inexpensive to replace the carpet.
Even if it's not really a structural defect?
Right, it's not a structural defect, but I consider any major defect anything that would cost over $500 to replace. And it most certainly is going to cost over $500 to replace this carpet.
And this carpet needs to be replaced?
It does. Yeah, these are bleach stains.
Okay, so we're underneath the skylight now.
Yes, Nick. This is the skylight that we talked about when we were on the roof. And as I told you there, we were going to look at it a little closer when we got on the inside. Which if you look up here, you can see some water stains. And the problem with those skylights is they leak. There's no curb on them to where you can flash. So that just sits on the roof deck, and then they put the shingles over top of it.
Now, Greg, are there any other items you go over with your client?
Yes, Nick, there is. I go over with them about having a wind mitigation inspection, and what that can do is help reduce their homeowners' insurance rates. Because rates in Florida have gotten kind of expensive, so homeowners need every break they can get. And what a wind mid inspection is, we're looking at the different features of the house that will help reduce damage should we have a hurricane. And those items are the type of roof, the roof deck attachment, how the trusses are attached to the house, what opening protections they have for the windows and doors, and if they have a secondary water barrier on their roof.
Do you have to go through some kind of training to do these?
Yes, I had to take a special class given by the University of Florida to get the certification to be able to do these types of inspections.
And do you have any other certifications?
Yes, sir. I'm a code certified building inspector, and I'm also a member of the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors.
Greg, how long do I have to wait for my home inspection report?
Nick, you'll have your report by tomorrow morning. I'll email it to you, and there will be a link where you can download it from the internet, and it'll be in a PDF file.
Wow, so I can print it off myself tomorrow?
Yes, sir. Our company's been in business in Florida since 1999, and we're a full-range inspection service.